We're gonna have to figure out some less loud ice.
Forgot about that. I don't know if you can have less loud ice.
Well, ice is just loud in general. That's just a thing that it is. It's not wrong for being loud. That's just a part of its personality.
Really? Oh, I gave you the wrong one. I don't know. They're the same thing, and it just one has an extra piece of ice in it.
Oh, okay. That's fine. This one still has a face.
Yeah.
For anybody confused, Tess has made me an old-fashioned, and we have an ice cube tray mold that makes skulls. So my old-fashioned has a face.
And I just discovered that we were recording.
I love that for you. Yeah. Tess, welcome back to Shun for Good Reason. I'm Anna.
And clearly I am Tess.
And Tess makes a lovely old-fashioned. Tess, why do you make old-fashions?
Because I'm old. You said why, right?
Yeah. Well, because you're old is a good thing. That's valid. Listen to my ice clink.
Because I make them because we like them.
You're gonna love this one.
Oh yeah.
We're back on our series of Where Are We Now and How Did We Get Here? With today being an episode called How Did We Get Here? Temperance and Prohibition.
Oh dear. You said it was gonna be fun. That's not fun.
Oh, it is fun. You're not old-fashioned. It's fun. Moral crusades, alcohol, and the shaping of American Christianity. Welcome back. We are exploring Christianity as a reaction to cultural stressors with a focus on historical patterns that still exist today. This is going to hopefully be a deconstructed, trauma-informed, and culturally contextual exploration. Short though it may be.
Anna has high hopes.
Well, I'm trying to talk it up. That's what podcasts are. You say you're the expert and then you try to prove it.
Okay. Short, funny story. Because you said talk it up.
I'm scared now.
My boss took the staff to lunch yesterday. And it's a diner. Like an American diner. They have like a lot of semi-random things on the menu, hamburgers, everything from hamburgers to salad to burritos to like they have one Asian dish that I refuse to get because why would you use an Asian dish at an American diner? I don't know.
That's a little scary.
I know. Anyway, and I ordered. Well, first of all, I ordered something called the Nashville Hot because originally I thought it was going to be chicken strips with Nashville hot sauce on them.
Okay.
I thought that was going to be the primary dish, like some fried chicken and Nashville hot sauce. As I was ordering it, it became clear, I won't go into it all, that it was actually a sandwich.
Oh.
And,
interesting.
And yeah, by the time I realized this, I'd already basically ordered it, and I didn't feel like going back and changing the thing, and yada, yada, yada.
So it was just a hot sandwich? Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, it was fried chicken.
Okay.
With Nashville hot sauce on it, and it had coleslaw and pickles. So it wasn't anything crazy. And I liked the sandwich, I'll say, but anyway, I ordered it, and I was already a little feeling a little weird about it because it was not what I originally thought it was. And I'm with a whole bunch of people, right? So everybody finally ordered, and it took a while. But finally, the server comes out, and as she's handing me my dish, she said something along the lines of, "You're very brave to order this. This is one that I just can't bring myself to eat."
Oh my god.
I know.
That's terrifying.
I know. And then
she works at a diner.
Yeah, and then she said something like, "My stomach is just way ahead of me on this one, and I just can't bring."
What the hell?
I know.
Oh my gosh, this person serves brown gravy for a living.
I know. And I leaned over to her, sat next to me, and I was like, wow, that's the first time I've ever had a dish talked down to me before I ate it.
Damn.
At a restaurant specifically.
That's really scary.
Yeah, that was a unique experience. I thought it was good. just for the record. I mean,
Okay.
it was not like super healthy, but it tasted good.
Why was she scared of it?
My guess.
Does she have high cholesterol?
Well, I'm sure she does. But my guess was she was scared of it. And again, it's a total guess. That was the only time I saw her. It was like she only brought my food out. She was like a different waitress than the one serving us primarily, and I don't know what happened. But anyway.
I didn't know you were ordering such a specific dish.
No, it was just one of the ones on the menu, I don't know.
Well.
Anyway, I think she thought it was too spicy.
Oh, okay.
Is my guess. Because it was pretty spicy, like, for an American food thing, it was actually had a bite to it, so. Which I was very glad of myself. I thought that made it nice, but. Anyway. Sorry, that's a super rabbit hole.
No, that's great. No, it goes great into our entry question. Was alcohol talked up or talked down in your church experience? And what did you grow up thinking about it? Because for myself, I was born into a family story of your grandfather was a hard drinking, hard fighting, hard working man, and he essentially lived on beer, from what I can tell. Not that he would have been able to get great beer in rural Montana at the time, for the most part. But between that and the early 90s Anne of Green Gables series, where Mrs. Lind states, "It was the demon liquor's fault." That was basically my entire experience. Is if God got a hold of you, then you didn't want the demon liquor or the demon beer anymore. They didn't know there was a difference between liquor and beer. And
No.
that's okay.
It was all bad.
But the demon liquor, and then that, and having the Christian biographies and the Great Awakening propaganda that was in my Abeka homeschool curriculum, which stated that there was in fact a demon at the bottom of every bottle of beer and or liquor.
Abeka was hardcore for those of you who've been listening along.
Abeka was pretty hardcore.
The demon at the end of every bottle. Oh man.
A demon in every
literal
bottle.
demon.
A literal demon.
Just hanging out. That's
I mean, in defense of Abeka, they just thought that there were demons at the bottoms of bottles of hard liquor. They did not necessarily extend that to beer.
They may have known the difference.
They may have known the difference. I mean, it was more assumed that this was a communal bottle and not a bottle of beer. So I assumed that it was more of a communal bottle of liquor and not like an individualized bottle of beer. So that may be just me reading into things, but that's okay.
Anyway.
What did you learn about alcohol in church?
Oh, it was bad.
Okay.
Definitely talked down. You don't drink alcohol. I have a few, like, I'm trying to think, like at church specifically, it wasn't talked about much. Except for probably in anecdotes and stuff. And it was just always put in bad light.
Yes,
it was
that whisper on the side of the story. And he drank a beer.
Yeah. Well, that or somebody had a testimony, where I probably heard about it most was somebody had a testimony where they used to drink and then they were saved by Jesus and now they don't drink. That was probably the most common reference I would have had for it.
A very 12 steps approach.
Yeah. But then when I was, I don't know, I was probably 8 or 9, I went on a very small backpacking trip with my dad. And he found a can of Bud Light somewhere. Like, this is terrible. Like, he just found a can of Bud Light. I don't know if it was open or closed, because he was, like, really sneaky weird about it.
Oh, no, so you don't even know if it was beer or if somebody had, like, peed in it.
I guess not. Don't know for sure.
Oh.
What I know is my dad had a can of something and he started pouring it out and had me like stick my tongue in the stream that was pouring out.
Oh, that's gross.
And he was like, "What do you think of that?" I was like,
do you think
wasn't
he knew
great.
if it was pee or beer?
I think he found a full can because there was a lot of beer in it. I don't know.
There was a lot of what in it?
Well, yeah. I don't know. It didn't seem like pee from my perspective. But I was 8. I don't know. I don't even know if my tongue officially touched this stream of stuff that was coming out of the can. I just remember thinking, this is bad. It's supposed to be bad. Whatever. I didn't like whatever was happening. So my dad said, do you like it? I was definitely like, no. And... And, like, in my dad's mind, it was, like, this very, you know,
very
case study lesson,
moment.
yes, of don't drink beer. From my perspective, it was like, this was a weird experience that I hope never happens again.
Oh, no.
Anyway, because, like, I wasn't planning on drinking beer at that point in the first place. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so there was that, and then there was the Waltons, where they had the two... I can't think of their names.
For those unfamiliar, the Waltons
Baldwin
is an
sisters.
old TV show.
Yeah, an old TV show. And the Baldwin sisters made their, again, what did they call it?
I assume it was a type of moonshine.
Yeah, they made moonshine. They had a name for it. I can't remember what it was.
Baldwin juice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was something. It wasn't that, but something like
I
that.
haven't watched enough Waltons.
Secret recipe. They call it the secret recipe.
Oh,
Father's secret recipe is what they
that's
call
cute.
it. That's what it was. And so they would just call it the recipe.
That's
Would you like some of the recipe? Yeah. Because they didn't think of themselves as moonshiners.
I love that. I want to be a Baldwin sister. Can I be a Baldwin sister? That sounds like so much fun. I would just love to be a salty old woman in the backwoods of somewhere, just making moonshine and not knowing it's moonshine and being so excited people want to pay me to come over for tea. That sounds lovely.
It was always super unclear because you like, but like the way that it was presented was like they thought of it as like medicinal essentially, and they would try and give it to people medicinally anyway.
That's so cute.
But like it was clearly like the church in the show thought, you know, knew it was wrong, and the grandma in the Waltons family was really, really against the Baldwin sisters because they made the recipe. And anyway, so it was essentially presented in a negative light, but also sort of not.
Well, because the Baldwin sisters, if I remember correctly from like the 5 episodes I've seen of this show, they were pretty happy, right?
Oh yeah, super happy,
Probably because they were drunk.
super jovial old ladies, just wealthy, living their life. Yeah.
You know what? Good for them.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, nothing.
I love that for them. So, how did it feel when you went from there to the very, very liberal Moody Bible College?
Oh, so liberal.
In in Chicago, where one of our professors, who will remain unnamed, believed that people could drink actual wine for communion. And maybe even have it for dinner.
I didn't really, when I was at Moody, I don't know, it was kind of a non-starter for, like, I just didn't care. Like, I never had alcohol, I didn't want to have alcohol. It was like one of those things, like, I made so many left turns about it, like, it was way, way far away from my world of thinking. Plus, like, Moody was already not charismatic, so I was way more worried about them being not charismatic than I was about one professor drinking alcohol. Like, that was kind of a minor point compared to, you guys don't believe in speaking in tongues? What's wrong with you? Like,
being filled with the Spirit is so much better than drinking alcohol.
That's right. Yeah, it's just basically like, you guys are missing out on the good juice, you know? Like, go get baptized in the Holy Spirit, it's a good time.
I don't feel like you ever had a good time when you were baptized in the Holy Spirit. Yeah, it's a problem.
No, I didn't. I kind of assumed some people did based on what I observed, but
it does seem like it.
Well, and there is a certain. I can't say I've experienced the. I don't know, probably endorphins that go along with just like being totally erratic and jumping around and babbling. Like it's like you stop doing that and it's like you just went for a run. You know,
that
like
sounds like meth head behavior, but go off.
Well, yeah, it's nuts. It's totally bonkers.
Oh, Oh, my new favorite word. My new favorite word. And I need everybody in healthcare to turn this off immediately. So.
They didn't.
They didn't. It's a trope that if somebody comes in with irrational behavior, emergency physicians and staff will refer to them as schizophrenic because they don't understand a lot of nuances of mental illness and don't want to. That's the trope. So if anybody comes in, they'll just call them schizophrenic if they're acting erratically, and they'll send them upstairs to like try to get medicated for being schizophrenic.
That's not great.
It's a trope. It doesn't actually happen a lot. It's a silly thing that we just kind of assume sometimes in healthcare. It's funny.
Okay.
It's supposed to be funny.
I see.
Because they don't understand the differences between different kinds of mental illness. And that's hilarious when you deal with that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But we do end up with a portion of humans, especially on a neuroscience unit, where they have had a stroke or a mini stroke, and they exhibit regular irrational behavior. And a lot of that, sometimes for very specific people, can be attributed to a long-term usage of methamphetamines. So if you use methamphetamines for an extended period of time, chances are you will exhibit a lot of the symptoms of somebody that we would see as schizophrenic. So you're going to have the jumping around behavior, you're going to have the babbling, the speaking in tongues. It looks like a religious experience. And someone that I was working with this week referred to it as methaphrenic personality, and it was just so true at the time that it made me super happy. Because it explained something in very small words that we see so frequently, and it made all of my endorphins go because somebody was putting a name to something that is so often misunderstood, because people misunderstand schizophrenia, they misunderstand substance abuse, and substance dependency, and addiction, and religious experience. And it made me so happy because I've seen so many methaphrenics in religious experiences. They're just methaphrenic. They're off on some sort of endorphin that you can't entirely explain, but it's exhibiting these symptoms.
No, for sure.
And that leads us back into
I've totally experienced
the substance abuse portion of this.
Yeah. But seriously, like in my world, in college, speaking in tongues jumping around was going to be way more fun than whatever I thought drinking alcohol was. I didn't know. I had no idea. It was just in my point of view of things. Alcohol led to bad, not good things. And, and talking to God was the best thing you could have, right? Or worshiping God. Or that was the zenith of experience that you could have on earth or heaven. So, Right.
Well, but this brings me into where I sit now in terms of substance use and religion. There are a lot of different ways to deal with underlying psychiatric and psychological issues. Religion and substance use can both be incredibly valid regulation strategies.
What do you think she's trying to say about me?
Trying to say you could use some regulation. We all can. And a lot of us find it in a lot of different places. When I see somebody who comes into the hospital for a stroke post-meth use, my assumption is they were doing that for a reason.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
You don't find religion or substances for no reason.
Yeah. Behavior is communication.
Behavior is communication, and when you find something that can regulate those behaviors and try to help you with your communication, that's great. So it feels great.
There you go.
Thank you. But what you're doing is you're trying to self-medicate for something in some way.
Yeah.
And that's why I have to put a little plug here. People who use meth get a lot of stigma against them for a lot of reasons. But you don't just use meth for funsies.
Right.
You're trying to regulate things.
Yeah.
This is a self-medication.
Yeah.
And it goes wrong, usually because there's a stigma against whatever it is you're dealing with and whatever it is you're trying to go to. And often, not always, but very often, it is the most economical option that you can find to try to be okay with yourself, your body, and your experiences. So, moving on from that, back to prohibition.
Right. It's a totally different world. Well,
it's not.
Yeah,
because all of these are trying to deal with stress, COVID, burnout, substance use, regulation of not necessarily. We're talking about two different kinds of regulations, so that's going to be confusing.
It is.
Regulation of emotions versus regulation of substances. So, regulation of emotions often will involve substances of various kinds. Those of us who
whether
are
they're regulated or not.
Exactly. Those of us who are more fortunate to have.
Do you think the substances need to feel regulated? I'm
yes.
sorry though.
It depends on. I have great empathy for substances. The substances themselves. I see them as little things with big eyes, but that's just because I use these pharmacological teaching textbooks that try to personify all of them. So I'm like, oh, poor Wellbutrin, are you okay? Are you okay?
Oh no.
Anyways, we're talking about substances as a strategy for regulation of emotion, stress, and burnout. Because we still use substances to try to regulate stress, coping, and burnout. As we always have. Humans have done this forever. Nowadays, we have more modern pharmaceuticals to do that, which is helpful in a lot of ways and unhelpful in a lot of other ways. We've got SSRIs, SNRIs, we've got MAOIs, which are a problem, let me tell you. But no matter what we're doing, we're still trying to enhance the human experience and provide for that regulation of emotions, coping, and stress and burnout that we have been trying to do for centuries.
Okay.
Which is where temperance comes in.
Where what comes in? Temperance. Okay. Yeah, let's get to temperance.
Okay.
I agree with all of that, I think.
No, that's okay.
Temperance, I'm curious.
You say that you agree with that, but you have weird facial expressions, so I want to know what your facial expressions are trying to say.
Well, I do agree. I do agree. I just my brain is thinking of how poorly it can go. Try to regulate your emotions with substances.
Right.
That's all. Which everybody knows. That's not news to anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which, are you thinking of a specific way that it's poor to regulate your emotions with substances?
Just overdoing anything.
Overdoing anything.
Or using any, or I mean, like meth is like a weird example because like you like just using it at all is so bad for your body.
Okay. Yes, and we use baby meth for ADHD.
Yeah, true. That's a good point.
So a lot of people, especially since 2020, we've been in an incredible deficit of actual ADHD medications for years now. And one of the ways that the people who benefited from those medications in the past but have lost health insurance are trying to cope with that is by using methamphetamine.
Yeah.
Because they're the same class of drug.
Yeah.
They're trying to replace one with the other. One of them is baby and is a lot easier to take care of in some ways. The other one seems to manage their emotions and regulate things a lot better, but also can cause them to have heart attacks and stroke very easily. It's
messy.
It's messy, but taking a medication for your mental health is taking a substance for your mental health.
For sure.
That doesn't mean you're abusing it.
Yeah.
That means you're using it.
Yeah.
And it can be super helpful.
Tools.
But alcohol has the longest history of substance abuse and substance use.
Yeah.
In
history.
As far as we know, human history. I was going to say human experience, but as far as we know, human history relies upon alcohol in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
For both relaxing people, for facilitating introductions between different cultures, and for regulating different kinds of dysfunction.
In some cultures, sustenance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In a lot of cultures, sustenance.
Yeah.
And then we hit the temperance movement in the United States in the 1800s to 1920s.
That word has always bugged me.
Which one?
Temperance. It's just, I don't know. It never seemed to fit what it means. I don't know. I probably should have kept that as an inside thought. It just always reminded me of throwing a temper, and it seemed to be describing the opposite in like decreasing and lowering something, and that was always confusing to me.
Okay. I am going to Google things real quick. Because what do you know about the Greek tempers?
Huh? A little, not much. Something about that's like medical knowledge of the day was our bodies have tempers that you have to have in balance, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going right back to Hippocrates.
No. Okay.
Hippocrates and Galen, the most famous of the Greek physicians. Hippocrates is the one, as far as we know. We don't know if he came up with these, but he took credit for these. Same one as did the Hippocratic Oath, which we know as do no harm. There's a whole oath behind it.
Yeah.
But the basic thing is do no harm, do the most good. All of your medical, nursing, social work, any of those people are going to be basing their things on teachings of Hippocrates. Hippocrates is the one who takes credit for the tempers. Temperance is the leveling of the tempers. So in order to have maximal health, you have to level all 4 tempers, and I will read them to you now. I did have to Google them. Choleric, sanguine, phlegmatic, and melancholic are the 4 tempers. So you have to balance appropriately. Choleric.
See, little tests never put that together.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
Choleric is essentially your liver.
Liver. Big test never put that together. Sorry.
Yeah. No.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. That's fine. When you think of your liver, you're going to think of cholera. You might think of pink fever, but that's a different thing. So your liver is fast. It has strong reactions. It's energetic, ambitious, passionate. It can be an aggressive thing, and it's right here. It makes all yellow bile in your body. Sanguine is the second temper. We usually associate that with blood, so it's aggressive and passionate. It's pleasure-seeking. It is really happy for things and optimistic. It's enthusiastic, but it's very impulsive. And then melancholic is black bile. So I'm not entirely sure what that one is. I assume it has to do with your kidneys, but I could be wrong. So DM me if I'm wrong.
Gallbladder?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Analytical, quiet, literal, and dependable, prone to sadness and being overly meticulous. And phlegmatic. So that would be, generally we would associate that with our lymph nodes now. In a lot of ways, calm, thoughtful, consistent, rational, slow-moving, passive. So you need to measure.
That's all I can.
I know.
Anyway.
So temperance is the balancing of the tempers, and these are the tempers.
It makes sense now.
Exactly. You have to balance all of them against one another.
Gotta know your ancient Greece, mate.
And
I don't know why I went Australian for that.
So one of the only things that we had, especially in America at the time in the 18th and 19th centuries, we had very quickly migrated to America from other places where we had the tinctures and the medications that we knew would help to regulate those tempers in us in the place in which we lived. We still haven't figured those out in America in a lot of ways. For example, I am not regulated in my tempers I have a lot of allergies and a lot of shit going on. Things are going poorly. I would need things to medicate me. If the only readily available tincture that I have is alcohol, that's the one that I'm going to have to go to because that's the medicine that is available. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So alcohol was the most readily available tincture to help try to balance the tempers that we had in America for a very long time, which is why moonshiners took a huge part in American colonization, because they were the ones who were making the only thing that we had as medicine to try to sterilize things, to try to balance things. It was very problematic. So when you went to...
Why problematic? Just because it was the
It
only
was
thing?
problematic because it was the only thing.
Yeah, okay.
So if you have a lot of health problems, you're obviously going to go to the one thing that you have, Father's Secret Recipe. Well, and it was great. Father's Secret Recipe helped a lot of people do a lot of things and sterilize a lot of things, and that's wonderful. But when Temperance came, Temperance said, okay, obviously we're doing it wrong because people are like getting drunk, which shows that the tempers are not properly balanced. They based it in Greek philosophy to start with, but then they added on the part where in the Bible, because that was one of the only primary things that they had, alcohol was primarily viewed in the Old Testament, which is what they were trying to emulate, as a problematic thing. So we've got Noah specifically as one of the primary influences there, where he got drunk, his tempers were misaligned, and his sons took advantage of him. We have...
Or something like that.
We have the daughters of Lot, who used the tempers misaligned to take advantage of their father so that they could birth new nations. And then we had...
These are wild Bible stories that, if you don't know, are probably not what you expect from Bible stories.
I know. I always want to say Hercules for this one, but it's Samson.
Yeah.
And he used mead specifically. He was taken advantage of with mead, and he used mead to take advantage of people to misalign their tempers and make things problematic. So when these, specifically women in 1800s through early 1900s America, saw that the tempers of their husbands were misaligned, and the only things that they had to base that off of were both Greek mythology / Hippocrates' teachings and the Bible. What they saw was something is going wrong. There's something wrong with the tempers in these people, and we can trace it directly to the demons at the bottom of these bottles. So God does not want alcohol.
Right. Well, and I feel like there's also like the more concrete, my husband drank 3 bottles of whatever and it's hitting me now.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to be subtle about that. But no, it's a whole thing.
I mean, you're right. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just adding.
So, when... No, you're absolutely right. There were 2 books that were actually widespread at the beginning of the colonization of America, and those ones fed through and have fed through to where I read both of them as the first books that I was allowed to read. A lot of us have read these, and they are the Bible and the Pilgrim's Progress. So one of the primary pamphlets that was distributed in America was The Drunkard's Progress. So step 1, it's 9 steps.
9 steps!
It's 9 steps.
It's a good thing we have 10 fingers.
I know, right? So step 1 is you have a glass with a friend. Step 2 is you have a glass to keep the cold out. So like, you're cold, it's winter.
Warms you up.
You got some eggnog, etc.
It doesn't really warm you up.
Step 3 is 1 glass too much. And then it's got somebody who's like soiling himself.
That's not how that works.
Step 4 is drunk and riotous, and the riotous, not righteous, just for the record. So it's got a man fighting with another man. And the other man has a billy club and a top hat, so you kind of assume that that's like a police officer potentially. Step 5 is the summit attained.
What?
It's all over a bridge. You had step 1, 2, 3, 4, and step 5.
Oh.
It's at the top of the bridge. A summit.
There's no
attained.
going back. You reached the slippery
Jolly
slope.
companions and a confirmed drunkard.
I'm sorry. I've never heard this before.
Oh. This was in my textbook.
What was it? Summit attained.
You're gonna want to clutch your pearls for this one. Okay, step 5 is the summit is attained. Jolly companions and confirmed drunkard. Underneath this, by the way, because this is at the top of a arched bridge, there is a woman crying, covering her eyes, holding the hand of a small child. Step 6, coming down the other side of the arch. Poverty and disease.
It's very Dickens.
Step 7 shows a man with tattered clothes and like flies coming off of his disheveled hair.
Still very Dickens.
Step 7 is forsaken by friends. Step 8, obviously, is desperation and crime, where you see him holding a razor blade to the throat of a companion. And
dear goodness.
Step 9, death by suicide. Those are
really?
Yep.
Huh.
Those are the only steps in the temperance movement.
I have thoughts. First thought is, I probably should laugh so hard because like people go through this sort of to a degree, more or less. I don't, like I want to qualify it a lot, but like that describes somebody's life.
Right.
Like I couldn't name somebody, but
well, but also this is one of the first things that was actually published, telling people that there were deleterious effects to alcohol and substance use.
Yeah, right. Well, and again, I say it describes somebody's life.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sure there's a story of somebody out there that probably is exactly their story.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is not a happy story at all, but
it's an
I have no doubts
observational
about
story.
It. Yeah. But my next thought is, like, it's so one person's story, right? Like, there's so many offshoots and turns and complexities and things that story does not remotely get at to millions and billions of other people. But it's trying to say that's the only thing that happens if you drink alcohol, right? So it's painfully wrong on that front.
Right.
Which is why I laughed. Right? Like, it's just so, this is what will happen, which is just insane because nobody knows that. It has happened, probably more than once, but at least once that's happened.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's, but like the what I see is that story being told and people seeing it and reading it and thinking, this is the story. Because we've been trained to read Bible stories and think this is the truth. And so you read this story, and I'm speaking from my evangelical upbringing.
Yeah.
And it's and you something about it rings true, and it's in writing. So now and it seems to line up with something you read in the Bible about Noah or Samson or whatever. Lot. And you're like, oh, this is the truth. This is what happens when you drink alcohol.
Yeah. Well, but what they're not showing necessarily, and there's another pamphlet over here which I can show you later, is there was a French pamphlet circulated in France and Canada, which it showed at the top.
Canada. Sorry.
I'm proud of you for getting the first part of that right, but you're not forgiven yet. Okay. You're still going to have to learn the entire anthem, or I am not giving you a passport. Anyways, there was a French pamphlet.
I call my own.
Tess, you're digging yourself a hole. Okay. I'm a Canadian citizen. The classic early 2000s film, Princess Diaries, makes fun of the Canadian anthem by making it the Genovian anthem but changing a lot of things about it. And Tess always thinks she knows the Canadian anthem and starts singing the Genovian anthem, and if she doesn't figure it out, I'm not giving her a Canadian passport and letting her leave the hellhole that is America.
Brutal.
You need me. Anyways, the French pamphlet at the top says alcohol is a poison in French. I'm not even going to try to do a French accent because I'm so bad at it, somebody's going to murder me. And then it has a bunch of people who are very well coiffed, looking like they're semi-successful, etc., etc. And then underneath those people it says there are those who live by it. And then underneath that it has a man who is essentially murdered in an alley leading into a drain. And then under him it says there are those who die by it, and then it has his orphaned children and grieving widow underneath it. And it's hard to talk about substances because...
This is supposed to be a fun topic.
I know, it's still a fun topic. We have such a limited version of fun.
Ouch.
I was being silly. First off, that's not everybody's story. But second off, this is the story of several people.
Yeah.
It is the story of several people because of these things that happen in our society which make people swing very drastically from regulated to unregulated.
Yeah.
And from unregulated to regulated. When they're more regulated, they're less likely to consume substances. When they're unregulated, they are more likely to need to consume substances to help them regulate again. Because that's why substances exist. Including alcohol, including nicotine, including any SSRI/SNRI that you are on. Any drastic societal shift is going to require the use of some sort of substance for people to be okay with it and not overindulge on the substance and do this, that, or the other thing. Also, these are pamphlets. These are the chicks' tracts of the Prohibition movement.
Right. Propaganda.
They are propaganda.
Yes.
They are propaganda.
For sure. They tell the story they want to tell.
They do tell the story they want to tell. William Blackstone in 1623.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm curious where that's going.
Okay. Hard cider was a thing in the Plymouth colonies up until the mid-1800s. But William Blackstone was distributing apples and flowers to help do this. And it was one of the very few aspects of American culture that all colonies shared. Which meant you could go to a lot of different places. You could be super dysregulated. But if you went to a pub, if you went to a place that shared the same ciders, the same brews that you had, alcohol was a connecting point.
Yep.
Which is very much the same between Vikings and English and Spain and French. Every place you go, essentially, in the Western Hemisphere and in the western part of Europe, I'm not going to include any of the Middle East in this because they do not want to be included in that. But in a lot of places that you go, you can say, hey, we have this in common. I use this as a spice. I use this as a ferment. It is a way to connect with the people around you. Also, it breaks down some of your inhibitions and you're more willing to do that connection with the people around you. It's not a bad thing, and it can be a medicinal thing. if you overuse it, yes, indeed, it can be a problematic, leading to death by suicide, leading to orphans and widows. That can be a thing, and that is another one of the cycles that we keep coming back to. When you have enough societal disconnect from what is actually healthy for people, you are going to see more substance abuse, and you are going to see more alcoholism, you are going to see more substance abuse, you are going to see more orphans, more widows, and more physical violence by people who are using these things inappropriately to try to figure out who they are and why.
Yeah.
And what life is. It can be either a tool for good or a tool for bad. Essentially.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like a lot of what it is depends on how much actual connection you have with other humans. Period. Probably. Like, if you're actually connected to humans and it's actually a social thing, and there's a lot of positive things it can bring. And then, but if it's just self-medicating, isolating thing, then there's not a lot of good endings there.
Well, I love that you bring that up after we've talked about communion a little bit and my grandfather a little bit, because the communion idea is we all share this cup. And then my grandfather's idea was hard drinking, hard fighting. And the hard drinking was all in his home. Like, he had to have a fridge full of beer and have that for himself. Go home, drink a lot of beer, and then be okay with things, which is very different from, I'm going to go to this place and I'm going to share a cup of wine with all of these people.
Yeah.
It's very communal versus isolationist.
Right. So how do we get to temperance?
We get to temperance in a lot of different ways. And I'm going to take this from the temperance movement of the Wikipedia page, just so I'm appropriately citing. In 1767, the average New England family was consuming 7 barrels of hard cider annually, which equates to about 35 gallons per person. And explains a lot about the independence movement. Around the mid-1800s, newly arrived immigrants from Germany and elsewhere increased beer's popularity, and the temperance movement and continued westward expansion caused farmers to abandon their cider orchards. In the late 18th century, the attitudes toward alcohol in Great Britain became increasingly negative, including the need for sober laborers and the Industrial Revolution. And then physician Benjamin Rush, who envisioned a disease-like syndrome caused by excessive drinking, with the symptoms being moral and physical decay. And he based this also on the tempers. He cited abstinence as the only treatment option and saw benefits in fermented drinks, so beer's fine, but condemned the use of distilled spirits, so rum is bad. He noticed that there was a correlation with drunkenness, disease, death, suicide, and crime. And this is around the time, because it's the Industrial Revolution, so you're starting to see less homebrew and more industrial brew. So fewer people are doing the actual witch brewed beer, which is where our pointy hats come from, and the use of cats to drive away mice from all of our distilleries. And we're seeing that compounded with the villainization of witches and pointy hats. So you're seeing the industrialization of all of these brews in conjunction with the villainization of a female-oriented view of distilling. So you're taking away all of the happy things, which were, we have cats to drive away rats, and we're actually putting time into this, and you're compounding it with eventually the more Guinness view of things, which is, we are going to make this a international product, which takes down quality, it takes down the community, and it takes down the value, essentially, of these products in general. So that's where the temperance movement starts coming in, is when they see that these people have enough money and enough access to demon liquor and beer more than they ever have before. Because previously, you were not able to get that sort of access, you were not able to get that sort of time unless you were incredibly wealthy. There was no way that you were going to become a drunkard. And suddenly the access and the time commitment has become, for the access, so much bigger, and for the time so much smaller for what you can get. So you can go to a place and get a bottle of rum, whereas previously that would have required a lot more commitment. So that's part of where temperance came from.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, it's the same thing though, like isolation versus community and
yes, the Industrial Revolution made it more capable to do this in
Yeah.
isolation instead of in community.
Right.
But the Industrial Revolution also made it so you had to operate machinery, which you hadn't before.
Right.
And you have to be a lot more sober to operate machinery
Right.
than you do to
Plow a field.
plow a field.
Average farm field.
Use a horse. So
Go horse.
there was a very distinct contrast
Yeah.
there, because previously, say you were able to find a lot of alcohol for some reason, people still couldn't necessarily tell because your labor was not meticulous enough to need to know unless you were a highly skilled artisan.
Yeah.
And then you got to this point where alcohol is freely available, and you also could potentially need to actually operate machinery and make sure it works. There's a lot of tiny cogs that go into that, which are not amenable to the use of alcohol. So it put this drastic disparity into humans, where we've got this, but also, if you use it, it's going to be very bad.
And then we invented cars.
And then we
Yeah.
cars and tanks and bombs, like,
Oh, yeah.
all right in there, very bad.
Guns.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of these things are coming in at essentially the same time, which makes the use of these things that were being more freely created way more dangerous to the people who they were affecting. So, yeah.
Right, because if
Household
you get a
violence was
little
way
tipsy
lower.
and you have access to
A bow and arrow?
Yeah.
It's a lot different from having access to a gun.
right a gun.
And yes, there's
It
a
is
lot of
different.
overlap in here, but time moved a lot more slowly before the 1920s to 1950s.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Hmm.
I mean, I had never spent a lot of time researching it, but
That's okay. So, temperance itself was a reactionary response to the social instability that was going on, both politically and industrially. The fears of family breakdown that had to come in when you had that amount of access to alcohol and that amount of access to transportation, and then the economic uncertainty that came with such a burgeoning economic environment, which is terrifying because you don't know if you're going forward or going backward at any point necessarily.
right. I always thought of it just from a religious point of view. I guess well, that's how it's always presented to me. Was from the religious point of view of alcohol is evil, and so don't drink alcohol. And in the 1920s, there were a bunch of religious people who thought alcohol was evil, and so they decided to make it illegal, and it didn't work. And so evil was allowed to spread. More or less, something like that.
Well, and all of that went together with the Reformation movement. So you had the religious conviction of those people who were like, it is evil, and it's being allowed to spread. And then you had the public health concern where people were just realizing, hey, this is super bad for your liver.
Yeah.
And then you had the social reform where people are like, oh my goodness, people are not being socially involved when this is happening. And then you have the reflux to that, which is the Women's Christian Temperance Union and the Anti-Saloon League. The people who publish those
Sounds
pamphlets that we were
terrifying.
talking about. It is terrifying. Because their point of view was that the problem is not societal, the problem is not religious, the problem is that there are actual demons in these things. And that's why my husband is beating me, and that's why the West is wild. And that's why the Indians are angry, is because we keep giving them evil liquor. So a lot of, yes, Christian nationalism, white predominance, and social mores went all into the same thing against alcohol itself. In a lot of ways.
Don't we call it the Roaring 20s, though?
We do.
Rawr.
Rawr. So.
But that's when temperance was, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. The temperance movement was the late 1800s through the early 1920s. And the Roaring 20s lends right into that. People were finding ways around it, and people were experiencing a different societal and international movement, which was really cool until it became Nazism and socialism and a lot of really bad things. But all of that was mixed up into one giant meatball of horror by religious people, essentially. Does that make sense?
Sort of.
It's okay. I'm gonna find an actual date for the Roaring 20s real quick.
It's in the 1920s.
It was in the 1920s. I want real dates for it. Ugh, I can't find actual good dates for it. What I can find is that it was the cultural edge in Berlin, Chicago, London, Buenos Aires, Los Angeles, Mexico City, New York City, Paris, and Sydney. It was known in France as the Crazy Years, but it was artistic and culturally dynamic.
Le Fou. That'd be like Le Fou Dans or something like that.
On a
Crazy
phone?
years. Huh? Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. I had my grammar bad, but
How do you actually
years
say
would
on
be
a phone?
en a fou.
On a phone. Crazy years. On
Yeah.
a phone.
What? How do they spell fou? What you're saying at the end?
Folles.
Oh, en a fou.
Mm-hmm. So this. It was a problem because we were actually we were discovering moving pictures at the same time. We were discovering internationalism at the same time. This is back in 1927 when the first transatlantic flight happened. This is, the whole world was everywhere all at once. And we were experiencing such a cultural psychosis that we needed things to deal with it. We were incredibly disinhibited, and we had lost everything that was making us us because we were previously isolated.
Yeah, nation states.
Nation states, yes.
Yeah.
We had this, we had nothing outside of this, and then naturally, when you discover that you can be listening to Berlin and Buenos Aires at the same time from Chicago.
Yeah.
With a glass of rum.
Yeah.
You're going to do what you have to do to make your body be okay with hearing all of these things at the same time. And at the same time, Berlin is rising, and you may or may not be getting drafted to go to a war. And there is so much going on. And all that these women who went to church regularly and were trying their best to embody everything could feel. And they had a good community, essentially. And what they saw was, my husband is drinking a lot of alcohol, and he is not okay. So what they thought was, the problem is not that we are moving at a transwarped pace culturally. The problem is that he has access to alcohol.
Well, yeah, and it's the same thought process of I'm turning left and turning left and turning left.
Mm-hmm.
And that's leaving me inside, or leaving maybe my husband outside of my bubble. And what I see is causing this is alcoholism, and I'm going to solve this by banning it.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
They saw sobriety as the solution to every single problem that they were seeing in the world.
Right.
Whereas their husbands were seeing, we are being infringed upon, and violence is the only answer to everything that I see around me. So we're seeing the uptick in the sobriety movement, and we're seeing the uptick in domestic violence and signing up to go to war.
Yeah. Regulation.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So what they wanted to do, because they were finally getting these rights and these ways to pressure their husbands in ways that they hadn't before, because it's the roaring 20s, we're getting more rights, we're working for them. That's the pressure that they wanted to put, was moral pressure on these people who were experiencing a violence pressure and a transnational violent pressure.
Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. Well, plus, yeah, the religious
Exactly.
bent.
So when you add the religious bent to that, and you can always see this as the old trope in old movies where you have to agree with a woman's, if you're courting a woman, you have to agree with her father on politics and with her mother on religion. And that's a lot of where that comes from. That's where the divide came, was the late 1800s, early 1900s, when they were starting to be allowed to have their own actual moral dilemmas and thoughts on these things. And what happened then was that you were able to reframe addiction as sin instead of a health condition, which a lot of us all know that it is now. And then you were able to reframe poverty as a moral failing. And they grouped those things in together. Anybody who is addicted is going to be in poverty. All of that together is a moral failing. And then we just rolled that snowball down the hill and let it gain traction and gain traction and gain traction. And it did even more so in the civil rights movement. Because keep in mind, we have not finished civil rights at this point at all. So anybody who is poor is going to automatically roll into this addiction and poverty ball that we're going to put down the hill. So, Prohibition came after temperance. Temperance is we need to even things out. Obviously, alcohol is bad and it's sin. And then Prohibition came, which is when these people, I'm going to be sexist here, these women put pressure on their governing husbands to outlaw the demon liquor. And that's when we found things popping up like the illegal liquor markets or Father's Special Recipe. And the rise of organized crime, or the mafiosos that we ended up with, specifically in New York and Chicago that we think of, and then the enforcement inequality that eventually led to the inequality between white and black in cannabis usage. But we saw that inequality in enforcement start with between freed slaves and white people in the Prohibition era, essentially. So they would be more likely to go raid black bars than white bars and try to make sure that people were being less poor and more moderate and more prohibistic and that sort of thing. Yeah. And it not only did it target black people coming out of slavery, but it also targeted anybody who had a background in alcohol use as a societal thing. So
Right.
that's where you're going to see your Italians and your Irish as incredibly targeted communities. That's not the only place, but that's one of the places that you're going to see that.
And it didn't last very long.
It did not last very long, but it did lead to an increased shame-based framework around any sort of substance use. So you're going to feel more shame because it was so societally stigmatized for an extended amount of time, but with a lot of law enforcement backing to it. So you're going to be a lot more likely to hide something, to seek support for it, and you're going to be a lot more likely to not admit to something that you view as shameful. And that can lead to a lot of chronic stress in families, especially those that are more genetically prone to substance abuse. And it can lead to a hidden cycle of substance abuse within families.
Yeah. Well, it's not just about regulation anymore. It's about right versus wrong, and you have to. It turns into the whole I'm fighting this virus of evil that I'm not letting into my house, and I can't actually deal with it, but it's there. And then you start, and like the secrets compound, and because it has become a sin and a taboo, and you can't actually deal with it, and you can't actually which is the opposite of dealing with how making anything healthy is hiding it and making it all about you, and
Yeah.
and then it just makes it into a toxic thing instead of opening it up and trying to actually deal with whatever the actual problem is, and which could be any number of things.
Well, and there were a lot of ways to deal with a lot of different things, but specifically in the Temperance and Prohibition movement in the late 1800s through early 1920s, it was a way of manufacturing moral certainty in a culture that was becoming increasingly globalized.
Yeah.
You had to hold on to something to make you more right than the people around you, and that was one of the ways that they could do it most easily.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Because it was an anxiety, a global anxiety. You always decrease it down to a simplified version, and then you can control that simplification of it. And by controlling that simplification of there's a demon in this bottle, you can control who consumes the bottle and when they consume the bottle and how they consume the bottle, or if they can consume the bottle in the first place. You feel like you're reducing a moral issue to a very consumable material and then putting more laws around that.
Yeah, well, and evangelicals have done that with abortion.
Yes.
And specifically that one. And
purity culture.
Yeah, sex,
yeah,
pornography,
and just the idea of a good person versus a bad person.
Yeah. No, it's the same tactic.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, but what none of that actually addresses is you don't overuse a substance unless you have a reason to overuse a substance.
Right.
And that comes from an inherent place of dysregulation.
Yeah, it doesn't actually address the problem.
Yeah.
Behavior is communication.
Yeah.
I'm drinking too much for a reason. What's the
reason?
reason?
And by taking away the coping strategies that people actually have to try to deal with that anxiety, you're not taking away the anxiety.
Yeah. Well, right. Well, and you're just making it a bad thing, and then it's a secret thing.
And then you're not allowed to have those emotions in the first place because there's no way to deal with them.
Or desires.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes it to the place where I grew up specifically, you were not allowed to take medications for things.
Yeah.
Because those were your problem and you had to deal with them with God.
Yeah.
So anything that your body is doing, you should not be taking a medication for it. You should be dealing with it because it's a sign of a deeper underlying spiritual issue, and there's so much shame attached to that you just deny and deny and deny and deny and deny that there's anything wrong or anything that needs to be addressed or anything that needs to be fixed.
Oh yeah. Same. Yep. And then nothing ever gets fixed. Depression. Transference.
All the depression and
Yeah.
all the transference.
Yeah.
How would you fix it?
Fix what?
Well, because temperance and prohibition are not just like a past thing. Temperance and prohibition are a thing that happens in any religious community now.
Oh.
If you were going to try to help somebody who had a substance-worthy problem in a modern religious context, what would you do?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of taking the focus off of the substance and trying to actually figure out what's actually going on. I mean, because a lot of substances don't create problems so much as they magnify them, right? Like, you're not, alcohol doesn't make you be a mean, angry person. Right? It's like, it's a very victim stance to say that alcohol made me do it, right? It's a very, you blaming something else for your mistakes.
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I'm going to interrupt you for just a second because my family, when I was small, always told me that alcohol made people the opposite of how they are.
Yeah.
So they always said that if somebody's happy, they're going to be really sad when they're drunk. And if somebody is sad, they're going to be really happy when they're drunk. And I don't view that so much as a truth anymore. I view it as a very sad problem of a very repressed group of people.
People are lying is what that means, in my opinion.
Exactly. That's exactly what it means in my opinion.
Yeah.
Is because if alcohol, if the removal of inhibitions,
right,
of in any way, makes you the opposite of what you are portraying to the people around you,
that means you are lying.
There's a problem that you have not addressed.
You're masking, you're lying.
Yeah.
Because that's like, it's science that alcohol removes your inhibitions, which your inhibitions are just you trying to tamp down a bit on you. Right? and so, if somebody's drinking alcohol and that results in beating somebody up, they wanted to beat somebody up, right? Like that. The alcohol maybe made it a little easier by releasing those inhibitions, but that's what was under the surface, right? Was that desire to beat somebody up, and so the solution is okay. And I wonder, how often this actually gets dealt with. I don't know much about AA and all that, but then actually, finding, embodiment and the real desires behind, and figuring out what regulation looks like for that person, and finding tools that can actually help that person, and I think for a lot of people that I know, one of the tools has been divorce, right? Just getting out of that relationship that they felt stuck in, and we're using lots of things to try and cope with that relationship. Which is sad, but it's also not, seeing as how it actually helped that person regulate.
Yeah.
Right? That's just an example, but because I see it a lot.
Yeah.
In my life
Well,
around
you
me.
see divorce and AA as being things that help people.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I see the opposite for AA.
Well, I don't know. I don't know about AA. I don't have a lot of experience.
And I
don't actually have a lot of experience with AA. As opposed to divorce, I've seen lots of people who got divorced.
I recognize that a lot of people have really good stories for AA and NA, any of those sort of things. But I'm going to read you the 12 steps that are the recovery program that is AA and NA. And then I'm going to see what you think of them. So, step 1, admit powerlessness. Admit that you are powerless over alcohol/narcotics, that your lives have become unmanageable. Step 2, find hope. Believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity. Step 3, surrender. Decide to turn over your will and lives to the care of God as you understand Him to be. Step 4, take inventory. Make a searching and fearless moral inventory of yourself. Step 5, share inventory. Admit to God, yourself, and another human being the exact nature of your wrongs. Step 6 is become ready. Be entirely ready to have God remove all your defects of character. Step 7, ask God, humbly ask Him to remove your shortcomings. Step 8, list amends. Make a list of all those you have harmed and make amends to everyone.
That's a good one.
Step 9, make amends.
Repair the harm is always
Make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Step 10, continue inventory. Step 11, pray and meditate. And step 12 is to help others. I have no problem with 8 through 12.
Yeah.
However,
That's just restorative.
Alcohol and Narcotics Anonymous have their roots just specifically in the temperance movement,
Clearly.
which is why they have exactly the same roots as the Child Evangelism Fellowship approach to making people understand that they are a sinner,
Yeah.
that they are irreconcilable,
Right.
that they have no hope within themselves,
Right.
and that they must admit that to themselves, other people, and God, and make amends.
Right. Well,
Admit that you're a sinner, believe in Jesus Christ is the only way out of those sins, and
it's the power outside
pray.
yourself that gets me.
to get it.
Like,
Exactly.
Because a lot of those things are not bad necessarily. Like admitting I did something wrong. That's a good
Right.
thing to do, right? Repairing the harm I caused. That's something I do at work every day. Both of those things. Admit you're
Yeah.
wrong. Repair the harm, right? But like
Because the power from both the Road to Salvation and the Alcoholics Anonymous
Yeah.
/ 12-step program approach is
you can't do it.
believing in a higher power instead of believing in the power of community and help and support.
Right. It's a appeal to an invisible sky god.
But also it's an appeal to individualism
Yeah, as opposed to collectivism.
as opposed to collectivism.
Yeah, it is.
Because
For
it's
sure.
it's between you and God. It's not
Right.
between you and the people
People
you've
around you.
harmed
Yeah.
in a lot of ways.
To overcome.
And
the thing.
the 12-step program has the advantage of it actually trying to address you have to repair harm. You've done bad things and you need to
Right.
help the people that you harmed.
Yeah, there's a communal aspect.
So
of it.
the 12-step program definitely has that over the temperance movement where it's between you and God.
Yeah, we're just.
But it is,
Evangelical.
both of them are cousins.
Yeah.
Child Evangelism Fellowship, Abeka, and Alcoholics Anonymous are cousins.
Yeah.
And they all derive from the temperance movement.
Right. God will fix it.
God will fix it. You just have to admit that you're an idiot and useless and stupid and everything you do is bad.
That you're a sinner.
Gaslighting.
No, for sure.
Everything you've ever done has been bad, no
Right.
matter what you did.
Not just
Filthy
alcoholism
rags,
or
Tess.
whatever.
Filthy rags.
Yeah. Well, and it. Yeah. Well, and it leads to my experience of hearing those stories, seeing those stories, is it leads to self-righteousness, right? Which is not really a communal thing. It's very, you push people away, you're more right than other people. And it's a very divisive thing to be self-righteous. And it's not a open thing. And that's why I think sobriety feels very, probably a lot because of AA, it feels very religious. It feels very purity culture.
Well, because they have roots in the same places.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. And it doesn't leave it doesn't it leaves no room for alcohol to, or any substance or anything for that world that we described earlier of balancing the tempers and just tools that can be helpful in this in this human crazy weird world we live in. To actually, there's no room for it to be a social lubricant. There's no room for it to be a regulating tool. It's just bad, and only bad. It's evil and only evil.
Well, but not only that, the need to have it in the first place, the need to have something to socially lubricate you, or the need to have something to help you deal with the bad things that are going on. Anytime you admit that there is something outside of yourself that may be affecting you, you are incomplete and you are wrong.
No, for sure.
Because that's where the temperance movement and eventually prohibition came from, was if you are experiencing so much that you need something outside of yourself, you're bad and you're wrong. You shouldn't need community. You shouldn't need substance. You shouldn't need anything. And if you do, you should feel shame about it because you are the problem with society.
Well, the only answer is God, which is super nebulous and vague, and yeah, I mean, especially the way they worded it, it's super nebulous and vague. Just God will take care of it. Oh, will He?
Oh yeah, He will. Didn't you hear? The 12-step program said so.
Yeah. Which I mean. In my experience, is just a recipe for more shame and failure and expecting God to fix it.
If done wrong, absolutely yes.
If done wrong, as opposed to done right. Well, I was doing it wrong this whole time.
No, we've all been doing it wrong this whole time.
Go to God.
No, I would say that the 12-step program, if done right, you would take out 8 of those steps. And you would just lean on the, hey, a lot of us are experiencing a thing, right? Should we maybe talk about it?
Yeah.
And if we've hurt somebody, maybe we should try to figure out how to help them instead. Yeah. That I feel like is a very good idea.
Yeah. Well, that's why
you have to take out every single step based on God. Yeah. And you being the stupidest person that ever existed. Yeah. For needing a substance to help you deal with what is objectively a terrifying place to live.
No, for sure.
The world right now is scary. I mean, we were not made to live like this. This is a terrifying place to be. But if you take that and say you should be ashamed of being terrified instead of, hey, you should try to be kind and help people and find help when you need it.
Yeah. That's a very different world.
Very different world.
It's just like, I was learning about teaching kids to write, and which is a scary thing for people, for kids especially, and especially special education kids.
Kids are
scary to learn how to write.
Kids are very scary for people.
So I'm just taking the scary world that we live in and, really shrinking it down to imagining special education kids trying to learn how to write. Right? It's the same thing to your body, right? You're just scared of something that's hard and difficult and confusing, and I mean, admittedly, writing is probably more achievable than maybe some of the things we want to achieve in the world, but it feels the same. Feelings wise, it's the same. And we were talking about strategies to help kids write and stuff like that. And one of the one that stuck out to me as one of the foremost researchers on how to teach kids to write, one of his brilliant plans, and it's good. This is really good. Was just have a kind, supportive classroom. Like that's researched strategy for helping kids learn how to write is have a kind and supportive classroom. Right? Like, it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't require any paper or pencils or anything else. Just be kind. Set up an environment that's kind and supportive, and it makes this huge difference for kids trying to face this fear of figuring out this really scary thing that seems like magic and nonsense to them, right? And it's just work that they can't solve, and can lead to shame and guilt and all these things that are really painful, and so to help all those things, just have an environment that's kind and supportive, right? That's minimizing the shame and the guilt and giving opportunity to make mistakes and to fix mistakes in a non-shameful way, and not highlighting failures, but actually, and then praising successes, and things like that. That's how you help kids learn how to write, and probably how you help adults deal with their real problems. Excuse me. I mean, and it always bugs me that so many of the solutions to life sound so cliche. Just be kind and supportive, but it's just the reality of being human. I think is that we just need that sort of environment to be healthy. And it's harder than it sounds. It's harder to find than it sounds.
Well, and it's so easy to judge too, because when you end up with a child that seems like they just don't want to learn, or in my healthcare environment, if you end up with somebody who just, it feels like you can blame every single one of their problems on substance abuse and every single one of their medical issues, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Societally and personally to be kind to those people.
No, for sure.
It's something that I've noticed with everybody who has methophrenia. Honestly, such a good word. It explains so many things. But the solution to that is never to just tell them they made all their problems.
No,
the
for
solution
sure.
every single time is I have a person in front of me who is struggling. And I have some of the tools that can help them.
Yeah.
Not all of them, because none of us has a magic bullet.
No.
But I have this and this and this that I can use to make their experience more okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to be okay, but it's going to be slightly more okay if I use this tool and this tool that I have at my disposal. How can I do that?
Yep.
Makes all the difference in the world.
Yep. I think it's time to land this plane.
Do it.
Be kind.
That's all I got. Just try to be nice.
Yeah.
Just try not to be an asshole. It's really easy to try not to be an asshole. It's really easy to realize that the people who are using substances are people trying to deal with really hard things in an environment that is not conducive to dealing with hard things.
Yep.
If somebody that you're dealing with has substance abuse issues, or if you have substance abuse issues, it's an outcome of the terrible place that we live in, and it should be treated with respect and with every sort of help that you can possibly give.
Sure.
But just don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Try not to be an asshole.
It's free.
It's free. It's free to not be an asshole.
There you go.
It's free to treat people like people, right?
That's right.
This has been Shun for Good Reason. I'm Anna.
I'm Tess.
Signing off. Oh, you got that one?